Next, we're going to examine what we call the double declining balance method, or also known as DDB. As you notice, I have acronyms for everything in accounting. So on this one, this is the hardest one there is, and you'll know why when I finish explaining it. So there are 3 steps to calculating this. First, I need to know the straight line percent. That's all I need to know. The straight line percent. That's why it was important to understand the percent of straight line. And that is based upon the number of years. If you go back and look at my straight line depreciation video. Then I'm going to double that. And then I'm going to calculate my depreciation expense by multiplying that percent times the book value at the beginning of the year. So let's take a look at the next slide. So my cost is $24,000. I have 5 years. Estimated residual is $2,000. Right away, 5 years, I know it's 20%. And I did that by taking 100% divided by 5, I get 20%. So here's my straight line percent. Step 1. Step 2, I'm going to double it. Now I'm 40%. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to take 40% of the book value at the beginning of each year. Now remember, the book value is the cost minus the accumulated depreciation. So in reality, the book value at the beginning of the first year is $24,000 since I've not taken any depreciation as of yet. So I'm going to start with the actual cost times 40%, I'm sorry. So 24,000 times 40% is $9,600. So the very first year, I will take $9,600 worth of depreciation. So here's my actual journal entry for that. Okay, so this is where it gets tricky. So I'm still going to use 40% for year 2, but I have to remember it's 40%. Here's a little chart to help you. So here's my cost times 40%. There's my depreciation. So here's my book value at the end of year 1. So my book value at the end of year 1 will be my book value at the beginning of year 2. So my cost is always the same. Here was my accumulated depreciation. Remember, my book value is this minus this, which equals $14,400 times 40%. So year 2 depreciation will be this number right here. Now my book value at the end of the year, I'm going to take $14,400. I'm actually going to subtract this number and I'm going to get $8,640. Or I can go over here. This is my accumulated depreciation account. I started with 0. The first year it was $9,600. And now I added year 2, which was $5,760. And now my actual accumulated depreciation at the beginning of year 3 is $15,360. So I subtract that from here for my book value at the beginning of year 3. So notice my book value is already almost fully depreciated. When things are depreciated all the way, they're called fully depreciated. So right now I'm going to take the book value at the beginning of the year, which is the cost minus the accumulated depreciation times 40%, and I get this depreciation expense for year 3. Okay? And so now book value at the end of the year is going to be this. So I'm taking this number from last year, subtracting the depreciation for this year, and I come up with 5,184. This is the book value at the end of year 3, which means it'll be the book value at the beginning of year 4. So here's my accumulated depreciation. This times 40% gives me this number. I take this number, subtract this. Here's my book value at the beginning of year 5. This is my accumulated depreciation. I'm actually adding to it. Started with 0, first year, second year, first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year. So now, this is at the beginning of year 5. So now it's this minus this, which leaves me a book value of $3,110.40. However, if I times this times 40%, I'm going to make the book value drop below 2,000. So I cannot do that. I cannot take the whole 40%. I can only take $1,110.40 in depreciation. And what I want to show you is on this next slide. So if I actually did this, if I actually took this number times 40%, I would get $1,244.16. That's 40% times this number. When I did that, then this would drop below, but I cannot do that. So what I do, here's the best way to calculate this. I take the book value at the end of the previous year minus the residual, and this is all the depreciation I can actually take. This is the hard part, because remember, I cannot drop below residual value. So when I'm at the last year, next to the last year, here's year 4. This is the book value at the end of the year or the beginning of year 5. Subtract the residual, and this is all I can take. Okay? So this is actually called an accelerated method, because you see that I'm actually depreciating very quickly. By the end of year 3, that 24,000 piece of equipment is only worth $5,000 on my book. So most of my depreciation expense is done in the first few years. So this is the hardest one there is. Here's a little chart on this. Here's the depreciation for each year. Here's my book value as I go along. Same information. Here's my depreciable cost. Here's how it's split over each year. So on the next slide, and the last slide for this video, I'm going to show you a summary of all of the methods. Well, actually, the next 2 slides. So this is just a summary. If I use straight line, it's called a straight line rate. It tells me I use useful life. Units of activity, here's my formula, and double declining. So this is just a summary of the 3 methods. But look at this chart here. This shows the same equipment calculated 3 different methods. I end up with the same depreciation expense no matter which method I use. So that will never change. You will still end up with the same depreciation expense, the things you write off, no matter which method I use. So that completes my explanation of double declining balance.